Thank you so much, Paul and Gerry, for being here today. We're going to talk a wee bit about yourselves as accountants and the R&D tax space, and particularly why you tend to work with specialists when it comes to that area. So I suppose first things first is, why do you work with specialists instead of doing it in-house?
We looked at the resources taken to do a full claimant report and the skill and experience required to do that and do it justice.
Yeah.
And then putting the numbers together is the easy bit. Surprise, surprise. Accountants can do that. Where we found it more difficult was clearly aligning the requirements of HMRC for a proper claim to go through, showing the advancements or uncertainties that you're actually covering off and taking forward. And frankly, the time taken to do that properly.
Right.
We decided we didn't really have the time or the resource or the experience in some of these areas to do what the client required. You know,
do you find it's a bit more difficult to tell the difference between the advance and the uncertainties now, or where do you find that sits now?
I think it's still early days to see how it's all going to play out fully for putting claims to doing clients. I think it's the right thing that you've done in relation to changing the process to get rid of some of what I call frivolous claims going through. A client recently being on the receiving end of one of those, somebody approached them that we weren't aware of, and surprise, surprise, after inquiry the whole claim collapsed. And looking at the report to an untrained eye, which the client was, looked really impressive. The trained eye, when you look at it, well, to me straight away, there's nothing there to claim.
Yeah, and actually you've sort of mentioned there about, you know, as accountants, you are trained to look out for the basics. You know, right, that we've worked with you for years, Mr. Client, we know that that's just your business as usual, but what you've been spending your money on recently, it sounds like it's quite innovative, it sounds like you're pushing boundaries, so you know the basics to sort of look for. And then that's where you would say, right, I think it's about time you have a chat with X, Y, and Z. Is that how you would handle it?
Absolutely. Even when we do say that, we have had clients that have not engaged. With some that we're very clear that there is innovation that they're taking on, there's product development, process improvement that makes a significant difference to the products they make and sell for the consumer that's taking them. They've decided, for whatever reason, which is their business decision, not to engage fully or not believe that there's development there, because it's what they always do.
And that is unfortunate, but like you say, it's up to them. All you can do is bring it to their attention. You've done your part, you've done your job, and if they choose to pursue it, then great, and if they don't, well, at least it will always be a conversation they can come back to if necessary. But actually, we have had some success together. Gerry, one of your clients a few years ago now, gosh. Do you want to share a wee bit on that?
Yeah, it was actually a crematorium, believe it or not, which when the guy approached myself and the partner at the time said, do you think there's R&D here? You're thinking, well, we've known you a long time, probably. We'll have a look. Yeah. It's always worth a look, but we weren't sure. And then when we looked down at the numbers and what he was explained the background to it more than the numbers, I thought, yeah, there's maybe is something here, but we need someone experienced in the R&D sector. Paul's explained we maybe don't have the time to do it all ourselves, so we came and engaged with the specialists who spent a fair bit of time with the client, got a good rapport with them, and thankfully over the past few years it's been going pretty well.
Now, something that I'm really keen to get your insights on as accountants is the R&D landscape as it is just now. So obviously years ago it was a very new conversation and it was very exciting, and almost everything from a breakfast meeting qualified, you know, in claims. Now the landscape's a wee bit different. What do you sort of see it as from your perspective?
The revenue obviously has quite a lot of frivolous claims. So when we're looking at it from looking at our clients' interests, we're looking to engage with a provider that we trust, we've vetted, we know their quality's there, they're not going to make frivolous claims. Because as many as have gone forward, there's been many who said there's not something there worth taking forward. So it's that open, honest conversation. There's quite a hard sales tactic from some providers in this space. They
Of
try to
course,
get, they pick a sector and they go after anybody and everybody in that sector.
Yeah.
With a story of saying, I can, and quick ready reckoners on the websites, you just go in, punt in some of your numbers, and say, oh, I can get back 300 grand.
Yeah.
Fantastic. As a business owner who might be under some stress for a project or to develop a business or just in general coming out of COVID and the cost of living crisis that we're apparently going through, it seems to be omni-crisis, there'll be another one next week. We seem to just have it marketed as a straightforward out the bag product, and it's not.
I mean, it sounds like you guys at MMG are quite proactive when it comes to working with specialists outside of the practice.
I think it reflects well on you if you do it properly. If you try and smudge things or race through things just because you want to on the next project, it looks bad and it's not the sensible thing to do. So I think using all the talents available, let's do it the proper way.
Just to add on to that, it's almost the definition of a good professional. Know what you know what you don't, and know somebody who does know what you don't know.
I mean, that's just the power of collaboration, you know, and that's as much as your role is really to help your client as much as you can, and it may be introducing them to topics that are actually very new to them, and it's from being part of these networking groups, being part of these insurance and collaborative groups where you learn that information and can then present it to them. So again, it's really just sort of highlighting the importance of you being as well connected as possible so that your clients can build on that.
Definitely.
I wonder if, for the accountants that will be watching this, naturally we're here to give insights into the space, insights into why you work with specialists and what benefits you get. What advice would you give perhaps an accountancy practice that was thinking of working with a third-party tax or funding specialist? What would you sort of tell them?
I think one of the key points is do your research. Make sure that you're comfortable with whoever you're going to work with, whether you go to their open days, read some literature, get some references, but do your diligence on who you're going to be working with.
Everybody calls themselves a specialist. We're specialists in this field, and yes, they very well might be, but like you're saying, how do they then stand out? Well, what about it makes you specialists compared to this one or that one? And I would always say the exact same thing as you. Certainly make sure that their content is up to date also, because there's nothing worse than seeing, oh, here's a case study from 4 years ago from a claim that was made. The rules have changed since then, the legislation's changed, so absolutely, like you're saying, do your research, go along to open days, join webinars, follow them on social media, see how active they are, see how engaged with their clients they are. All these things are good advice to new accountants, so no, I appreciate that. If you were speaking to someone, company that were in the innovation space and they were thinking of making an R&D claim, what would be the advice you tell them?
Naturally, speak to your accountant.
That's it.
Especially if they're well connected, you can see that.
That's that then. Perfect.
And if not, speak to some of your peers.
No, excellent advice. See what others around you are doing and bounce off that. No, thank you, Paul.